Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Adamya Academy YouTube classes. So today we will be studying about Natural School of Jurisprudence. In earlier classes we have discussed about Analytical School of Jurisprudence, Historical School of Jurisprudence and Sociological School of Jurisprudence. So let's start. Natural School of Law. Natural law is a philosophy of law that focuses on the law of nature. This school of jurisprudence represents the belief that they are inherent laws that is common to all societies. So, in this regard, I would like to say the previous example which I had given in the earlier classes. It was Dudley versus Stevens. Do you remember what were the facts of this case? There were three persons. One person was a child who was 9 years old. So in this case, there was a shipwreck and the persons were in the sea. So they did not have anything to eat or drink for days long. So when they reached to the shore, they were tried. Why were they tried? Because meanwhile they had killed the child and drank his blood as well as has eaten his meat. So is it fair that the persons should have killed the child in order to self-preserve their needs? So this was the question arose that with regard to self-preservance and survival of the fittest, should natural law has something to say about? And survival of the fittest. So these were the principles which were taken into account. So it was said that a human being when born has natural human instincts for some things. They try to self-preserve themselves in harsh conditions, and they try that they are able to survive irrespective of any law or irrespective of following that, irrespective of thinking that they should follow some moral principles or ethics. So this is a very famous case, Dudley versus Stevens, which is also studied in the law of torts. Natural law is also known as the moral law, divine law, the law of God, of reason, law of nature, universal law, and unwritten law. So we will be seeing that there were various stages of development of natural school of law. Earlier it was law of nature, then it began to develop. As it began to develop, it became the law of morals, then universal law, and then human law. So we will be studying in detail about the stages. The school of thought tells us that the law is rational and reasonable. Natural law proposes that laws are logical progression from morals. Therefore, actions that are considered to be morally wrong will be against the law. Let us take an example. Consider you are in an aeroplane and you are going from city A to city B. Meanwhile, the air hostess comes and she tells you certain things that you have to do and you don't have to do in it. The one thing is that she tells you that in case of any emergency that oxygen is not able to reach, then you have to plug on the air mask and save yourself. So she makes it clear that before helping others, you have to help yourself. So this is a natural human instinct that we have to preserve ourselves first, then we will preserve the other persons. So this is what is morally right. It may not be legally. There's no idea that we should discuss this example in legal terms. So, but you might also think that some actions are morally wrong but are not legally wrong. For example, there are some tribal acts for which there is no punishment prescribed, but that act may be morally wrong. For example, let us take an example when you are crossing the road and a woman who is blind wants to cross the road and is stuck in the middle of the road, then you are in a hurry and you did not help her. So this action is morally wrong but is legally right. Similarly, there can be conditions in which an act may be legally wrong but not so morally wrong. So what can be the example of that? Consider you saw a boy who has stolen a loaf of bread, just one piece of loaf of bread, and he has been imprisoned for the same. And another person has stolen a full bag of gold coins, and he is also imprisoned. So one may think that stealing just a loaf of bread should not be punishable, as the boy was very hungry and he didn't have any means of survival. But at the same time, the act is considered legally wrong even if it is of very trivial nature. So this is the difference between morally wrong as well as legally wrong. Phases of Natural School of Jurisprudence: Ancient Period, Medieval Period, Renaissance Period, and Modern Period. We have studied about these periods. So now we will study in detail about these periods one by one. Ancient period of natural school, Greece. The Greek thinkers developed the idea of natural law and laid down its essential features. So Greeks were very from Greek mythology and Greek culture, we have developed the jurisprudence as we are studying today. So the source of jurisprudence is also Greek mythology, which is written here. The Greek thinkers developed the idea of natural law and laid down its essential features. At that time in Greece, there was great political instability, and it was thought by many that law is made only to serve the interests of the strong, but that the same situation made other jurists think in other ways. So what did Greek mythology tell? It laid emphasis on the fact that consider this is a society A, and in this there are many individuals like individual 1, individual 2, individual 3, and individual n. So a society is a combination of group of individuals. So in this case, there will be some individuals who are very close to the king or who will be in the higher society, who will have a rank higher in the society based on their social or economic conditions. So in this case, we can bifurcate the individuals. So what Greek mythology wanted to tell us that there were some individuals, let us consider individual 1, 2, 3 are placed at a higher level in the society and other individuals are placed at a lower level. So at that time, barter system was prevalent. It means that when somebody needed grains, then they could give their rice in lieu of grains. So this is how they exchanged the commodities without exchanging the currency. This was what was barter system. So in this case, who was the most benefited by barter system? The elite class or the persons who were very close to the king, because they were very few in number and they used to control all the trade which used to happen. So because of the great political instability, the law was made to serve the interests of the strong. They saw this as an opportunity to develop new universal principles that would tackle and control tyranny and arbitrariness of government. So this is very important point that in first time the emphasis on universal principles to control the tyranny of the sovereign was emphasized by the Greek philosophers and thinkers. So according to the Greek philosophers, they wanted that the sovereign should not have all the control. All people should have equal opportunity to get the commodities which are offered in the society. Then comes the second philosopher, which is Socrates. He is a very famous philosopher. Have you heard some story about Socrates? Socrates, uh, people might say that we should not speak so much. We should not argue so much. There's a reason for that because Socrates was punished because he tried to lay emphasis on the things which were not thought previously. He wanted that arbitrary rule of government should not happen. So he emphasized on the fact that what the society thinks should be done and not what the sovereign thinks should be done. So there was a room in which Socrates was there, and what he told about that sovereign should not do that or sovereign should not do this. Society is mature enough that they understand what is right or what is wrong for them. So for this, Socrates was killed. In this concept of natural law, man has his own insight which makes him know of the things whether they are good or bad. It is this insight, according to him, by which a man is able to inculcate the moral values in him. The only way to judge the basis of law, according to Socrates, is man's insight. So we are not told that this is morally right or this is morally wrong. When we are born, we inculcate these abilities all by ourselves. So it's present naturally. What makes the difference between animals and humans is that man is a logical creature. He is able to think about the repercussions which will happen if we behave in a certain way. So man has his own legal insight, which is what is told by Socrates. Through his theories, Socrates wanted to ensure peace and stability in the region, which was one of the principal demands of that time. So what does this actually mean? He emphasized on the peace and stability. Let us consider section 377, which states that marriages between same gender can be allowed. So when this was introduced, it was year 2008, and till 2017 people were not able to take it because they didn't think that it is morally right. So it took approximately 9 years for them to realize that it is actually can be taken in the society. So from this we can understand that just by making law, we cannot make people accept that law. The law should be morally correct in the minds of people so that they accept the law and they implement the law. Another example we can take is of live-in relationship. It is said that before live-in relationship was introduced, there were many arguments in favor and against live-in relationship. But today, all the persons as society have actually accepted that live-in relationship is fine. So this is how law is progressing. And how is it progressing? It is progressing because it is able to meet the human instinct. Similarly, we can take another example of juvenile offender. Or we can take an example that a person who is considered, when a child is born, he is taken care of very much because a child is the most innocent person. So taking care of it is considered the priority of any individual. And if something wrong happens to that child, the society is to be blamed. So in this regard, it can be said that to protect the child is the human instinct, and if the child suffers any harm with respect to his mental status or physical status, then the society is to be blamed, and the child needs to be saved by giving the offender the punishment he or she deserves. So this is an example of natural human instinct which the individuals in the society have with regard to the child. Then the third philosopher which we'll be studying is Stoics. You might have heard the name of Stoics. He was a disciple of Aristotle. According to him, next philosopher is Aristotle, and Stoics is the discipline of Aristotle. Aristotle is the founding father. Which school are we studying now? Natural school or model school or universal school? So the founding father of natural school is Aristotle. But it is not that Aristotle introduced this concept. This concept has been debated from a very long time before Aristotle, but Aristotle was the person who actually carried this idea forward. Aristotle's concept of natural law is different from that of Socrates. He divides the life of men in two parts. First, he says that man is the creature which is created by God. B. He possesses the quality of reason by which he can develop his own will. So, according to Aristotle, man is a creature who is developed by God, and what differentiates man from animal is that he has his own ability to judge the circumstances, to judge the conditions, and behave accordingly. So, man has his own will, his own logic is what makes him different. It is this reason through which one can discover the principle of natural justice. So when man has his own will, then he has his logic behind that why should I do this thing and why should I not do this thing. So he has reason in his mind. So there is no law needed in order to make him work in a fine way. So this is what Aristotle wanted to tell. Now next we will study about Stoics, who is the disciple of Aristotle. So what Stoics did, he gave a detailed analysis of what Aristotle has told, and he also added some points in it. According to him, the world is governed by reason. Man's reason is also a part of this world. Therefore, when he lives according to reason, he derives according to nature or lives naturally. It's governed by reason. So what did Stoics emphasis on? Reason. So what do you mean by reason? Let us take an example. Consider in earth there are different kinds of eating habits which are different for animals, birds, mammals, etc. So let us consider we have herbivores, we have carnivores, and we have omnivores. So in a hypothetical situation, if the herbivores decline by a specific number, so will carnivores survive the way it used to do before? Of course not, because for them to survive, they are dependent on herbivores. Similarly, if herbivores number as well as carnivores number decline, so will omnivores be able to get or feed themselves properly? Of course not, because they are dependent on herbivores as well as carnivores. So the world is governed by reason. He lives according to the reason, he lives according to nature or lives naturally. So in order for him to live naturally, there should be a balance between the components of earth as well as the components which sustain life. One of the duties of man is to obey the law of nature, as according to Stoics, law of nature is binding on everyone and positive law must conform to the natural law. So in analytical school, we have studied that sovereign is the supreme. It means that whatever sovereign has told, we have to follow the law as it is. We don't have to argue that why law is like this, or the law should have been like that. So, analytical school focused on sovereign, but natural school focuses on human instinct. So, as Stoics is the proponent of natural law school, obviously he will consider natural law to be above sovereign law or the analytical school. So he considers natural law to be above analytical school, which means that the sovereign has to also follow the natural law principles while governing its citizens. So the supreme law is natural law according to Stoics. Positive law must conform to the natural law. Then fifth proponent which we'll be studying is Cicero. So these are the philosophers which are related to the first phase of natural school, which is ancient. Next phase is medieval, then is Renaissance, and then is modern. So in ancient stage, we have studied about Aristotle, we have studied about Stoics, and now we are studying about Cicero. So he said, law is the highest reason implanted in nature which commands what ought to be done and forbids the opposite. This reason, when firmly fixed and fully developed in human mind, is law. So what is law according to Cicero? It is, in ancient school, we are studying Cicero, and highest reason is what is law. So before that, we might have some analogies which are developing. So this is developing reason. So when we reach to a stage where we are able to understand that why this law is like this, or the law should be like this, and why are we being governed by that law, is when we logically try to understand the highest reason or the main reason behind the law. Then, according to Cicero, then the stage of law is achieved, and before that are the progress or the process of making of law. So the highest reason implanted in nature is what is law according to Cicero. For example, let us take some examples. Earlier, what used to happen between tribes? They used to fight with each other, and when they used to fight with each other, they used to kill the members of other tribe in order to tell that they are more supreme than the tribe in front of them. So what should that happen, or is it possible that the same thing happens in modern society as well? No, now also people are living in jungles, but they are more cultured because they know that by killing of the people, it is not good that they should exert their sovereignty by killing. There are many other ways by which they can exert their sovereignty. It means that they can actually negotiate between people, or they can reconcile with the people in order to come to a common conclusion. So fighting is not the solution. So this is what is thought by people, and when they develop the reasoning behind that, the why fighting is not good, should we harm others for money or for other things, then this development is what is happening at this stage. And when they come to a conclusion that negotiation is good, and law for negotiation should be there, is when the law of contracts and all was made, which is this stage, and this stage is what law is according to Cicero. Medieval theories. Now we will look into the second phase of development of natural law, which is medieval stage. The main person behind this was Aquinas. Catholic philosophers and theologians moved away from the orthodox interpretation of natural law and gave a more logical and systematic theory of law. So this was a time, it was probably between 13th to 14th century, where the church, the priest system was there. So what are the mottos of, what do you mean by it meant peace? How peace will come? In India, the motto of peace is that tolerance. We should tolerate what the other countries are doing, and till we are able to tolerate, we should not engage in war, is what an Indian sovereign or Indians think. The same is this. This is not the same case with Germany, because in the time when Germany was engaged in war, peace for them meant differently. And what did peace for them meant? It meant that the persons who do not follow the law, they should be killed. So mass killing or genocide was the definition of peace according to them. And what is the situation with UK and US? In UK and US, they try to suppress the other countries. So mutually assured destruction is what is definition of peace in the eyes of UK and US. So the peace can have both a positive way as well as negative way of seeing. So as I have told you that this was the stage of church and priest, they laid emphasis on more logical and systematic theory of natural law. Have you heard there are many cases with regard to should there be a law to govern the mass killing or not? For example, in a recent serial, Tud, the name is Tud serial. Ted Bundy tales, you have heard about that. There was a mass serial killer who used to kill many people, and he rather justified his killing by giving examples as to why I have killed, and people were convinced with his mass killing. So is it justified? Of course not. So Thomas Aquinas defined law as the obedience of reason for the common good, made by him who has the care of community, and promulgated. He divided the law into four stages: law of God, natural law, divine law, and human law. So law of God can be different for different followers of religion. For example, Hindus may consider the law of God to be different, Sikhs may consider it different, and Christians similarly can consider it as a different, totally different. So what actually is the common thing between all the laws which God has made is the common human instinct, which is same for every human irrespective of his religion or his place of birth. Is what is the last stage or the most developed stage of natural law is the human law, which functions on the basic human instinct. So all the philosophers before Aquinas laid emphasis on the individual good. Like we have studied about many proponents in natural law school which have laid emphasis that individual is the person who is sole responsible because he knows the logic of following something or doing something or of not doing something. So individual will does not play a major role in those theories, but in the theory of Aquinas, he considered that one should strive for common good or community good, because individuals may, and what is it that it made Aquinas to follow common good irrespective of individual good? It is that because individuals may have different ideas, different philosophies, different egos, and they may clash with each other. So in order to become a common ground, for peace, they should have something which should drive them for a community and community happiness, irrespective of whether they are individually happy in the same situation or not. So these are the theories, or these are the stages which Aquinas have mentioned: law of God, natural law, divine law, and human law. So he rather believed on the welfare of the herd community. You might have heard this word, that not just we should not consider the benefit of individuals, we have to consider the community as a whole and have to think in the benefit of the community as the whole. Natural law is that part which reveals itself in natural reason. It is applied by human beings to govern their affairs and relations. According to Aquinas, positive law must conform to natural law. Positive law is valid only to the extent which is compatible with natural law. So, Aquinas also wanted to say the same thing which other proponents have told, that natural law is the supreme law, and all the other laws or all the other rules, like what positive law, in which the rule of sovereign is the supreme, should be subordinate to natural law. It means that positive law should also conform to the principles or ideas which have been laid down in natural law school. Thomas Aquinas perfectly blended Aristotle's theory with that of Christian faith and built a very elastic and logical theory of law. Christian faith or Christian reasoning or theological reasoning plus political reasoning is the Aquinas reasoning. So at that time, Christian was a prominent religion. So with not just blindly following Christian religion, we have to follow Christian religion, the principles behind laid down in Christian religions, but at the same time we have to apply it in the politics or in the society at that time. This is what gives rise to Aquinas' reasoning. He pleaded for establishing the authority of the church over the state. According to him, even the sovereign has limited powers. So according to him, sovereign also has limited powers. He identified natural law with reason, gave sanctity to the social and political organization, and pleaded hard for preserving social stability. Catholic modern jurists have built upon the theory of Aquinas but have modified his theory according to the changing needs of circumstances. So at that time, that was a time when women were not allowed to go out of the home. So Catholic persons or Catholic modern jurists give regard to the theory of Aquinas, but they also consider the fact that society has progressed very radically from what it was in the previous condition. So, thus considering the needs and circumstances of the present society, these Catholic jurists also considers the Aquinas theory as relevant. Renaissance period or the social contract or Thomas Hobbes. So this is the second period, third period. In first period we have studied about Cicero, Aristotle, Stoics, Cicero, etc. In the second period, this was the ancient period. In the second period or the medieval period, the main proponent was Thomas Aquinas. And in the third period or the third stage, which is the Renaissance age, we are studying about Thomas Hobbes. So Thomas Hobbes gave a very famous theory known as social contract theory. So consider, for the sake of convenience, I'm erasing all this. So consider a situation when this is a society and different people are engaged in different activities. For let us assume that they are engaged in agriculture. So this is the land of individual 1, this is the land of individual 3, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So they all have different parts of land, and they all have different parts of land on which they can plow or on which they can sow crops. So consider a situation when individual one is able to maximize his profit in a particular year and individual 2 suffers very much loss. So what thinking will individual 2 have in his mind? He will probably think that it is not good, that in how individual 1 has got so much and I am not able to gain profit in this year. So a feeling of jealousy or a feeling of hatred may arise in that person's mind. So to overcome this feeling is what social contract theory wanted to say. So under this stage of nature, man lived in a chaotic stage. According to him, man's life is a state of nature was that of fear and selfishness. It was solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. So man at that time were not civilized. They used to think about their own good only and did not take into account the other person's happiness. So this is what is written in this line. Under the prevailing circumstances, people, in order to get rid of their miseries, entered into a contract under which they surrendered all their rights to a single person. So in this condition, what can be the outcome or what can be the solution for this problem? The solution may be that a person who can manage all the individuals at the same time should take the hold. So the need of a sovereign person or a single individual arose in the minds of the people. This is what is written in this second point. Rights to a single person. The law of nature can be discovered by reason, which says that a man should not do or not do. Man has a natural desire for security and order. This can be achieved only by establishing a superior authority that must command authority. Therefore, he advises the sovereign that he must command with the natural law. So, in this society, what was missing? It was security and order was missing because people used to quarrel with each other with respect to their rights. So, when the need was felt, the sovereign was the person who took hold of that need, and thus, for security and order, for establishing security and order, this social contract theory was created. Hobbes' theory of natural law is a plea to support the absolute authority of the sovereign. So the main thing in this statement is that he used to support the absolute authority. It's not that the individuals which are being governed have some rights. According to Hobbes, the individuals should not have any rights. They should surrender all the rights which they have to the sovereign. He advocated for the established order. He stood for stable and secure government. Generally, Hobbes and Locke are studied simultaneously, but you will see that the Hobbes idea in the Renaissance period is totally different from what John Locke has to tell. So what is the idea of John Locke? Locke's view on the state of nature was completely different from that of Hobbes. He also interpreted the natural law in a different way. Locke was in favor of individualism, and therefore for him natural law meant giving individuals more power than the sovereign. Locke's state of nature was a golden age for men. But as the society grew and people started establishing the concept of property, people became insecure about their property. So Locke focused on the unequal distribution of property which used to happen at that time. So consider these are the plots of different individuals. Let us consider there are many individuals named as follows. And they have the property which is shown in this block. So when there was a golden age of men, men didn't used to quarrel with each other and they were happy with what they had. They did not have any greed as to get hold of what other person is having. So, according to Locke, he is in favor of individualism. It means that he is totally different from what Hobbes has told. Hobbes has told that sovereignty should take all the control of the things related to security and order, but Locke has told that sovereignty should not take all the hold. Rather, individuals are capable themselves to take hold of the condition, and they can take hold of the condition related to the property matters. It was for purpose of protection of property, is what is important here, that man entered into a social contract. Under this contract, he did not surrender all his rights, but only part of them. So this is what I have told you, that Locke believed that all the rights should not be taken away by the sovereign. Individuals should also have some rights. And what are those rights which the individuals should have? One of that right is right to property. Another right is right to life, which sovereign in no circumstances should take away, is what Locke has to tell about. So the key word here is only part of them. All these rights were surrendered in order to maintain order and to enforce the law of nature. The natural rights like the right to liberty, property, and life were to be retained by men, as I have told you here. Locke stood for individual liberty and advocated that the powers of sovereign is not limited. So he emphasized on the power of individuals also. So they should also have some powers regarding property. According to Locke, individual has a right to protest against the sovereign if he is unable to protect the rights of the individual. Individuals also have right to overthrow the existing government. So this is what is actually true in the modern society. So why was the constitution? So according to Constitution of India also, if we do not find that a particular government is according to our belief or is doing good for us, then we can actually overthrow that government and make another government come in place of that. So the Constitution also provides us with the same, and the same idea has been earlier given by Locke. So this is what John Locke has to tell, that individuals should have the right to overthrow the existing government. According to him, an individual's right to liberty, property, and life are the basic natural rights, and the sovereign right to liberty, property, and life, which I have told you earlier, are the basic natural rights, and the sovereign must realize these rights and take a decision taking into consideration the above mentioned rights. So Locke did actually believe that individuals should have right to life and property, but there are some conditions which have to be given by the sovereign so as they can exercise those rights for the better. So this is what this last line about John Locke reveals us. And then the last author of this theory or this period, what we are studying is the Renaissance period. For him, a social contract is the hypothetical construction of reason. Before the social contract, man lived a happy life. There was equality among men. And this is what I have told you earlier also, that before what was the need of social contract theory? The need arose because of many conflicts which are emerging in the minds of people. So in order to solve those conflicts, contract theory came, and it is solely based on the concept of reason, and reason is actually the part of natural school of law. According to Rousseau, man entered into a contract in order to preserve the rights of equality and freedom. So, we have studied three proponents in sequence. What were the three proponents? Could you recall? First, we have studied about John Hope. First, we have studied about Hobbes. Let me make a flow chart for it. This is what Hobbes, this is John Locke, and this is Rousseau. He considered sovereign to be supreme. He laid emphasis on the individuals. Individuals should also have rights according to John Locke. And in this, what did Rousseau have to tell about the rights? He considers the right of community to be more important than the right of a single individual. They surrendered their rights not to a single individual but to the community as a whole, which Rousseau calls as a general will. So Rousseau considers the general will to be most important. So this is the basic difference between the three proponents of the same stage of natural law school. According to Rousseau, it is a duty of an individual to obey the general will because in that way he is obeying his own will. In Hobbes, we have seen that law was made for the security and order purposes. By John Locke, the law meant to serve law made to serve. What was law made to serve according to John Locke? Protection of properties, of various rights like right to property, etc. And what Rousseau wanted to protect? He wanted to protect the equality of men. So this is the second basic difference. If you will remember both these differences, it will become very easy to understand the Renaissance school of jurisprudence. According to Rousseau, it is a duty of an individual to obey the general will because in that way he is obeying his own will. The government and laws made must conform itself with the general will, and if they are not able to do so, then they could be overthrown, is what Rousseau wanted to tell, and stood for the interest of the community rather than the interest of the individual. His natural law theory stood for equality and freedom of men. So these are the various proponents which we have studied. We have studied about natural school of law, in which we have studied about various important proponents in the different stages, starting from ancient stage, then coming to medieval stage, and then going to Renaissance period. So this is how we have completed natural school of law. From next class onwards, we will be studying about the concept of rights and duties. So till then, stay tuned and bye.